Hey, thanks for checking out my channel. My name is Sean Uyehara. I'm an area manager with Geneva Financial, and for all of my loyal subscribers, I wanted to give a quick update because it's been a while since we've dropped a video on the channel. Unfortunately, I was dealing with my father's death a couple of months ago, and for the last few months I've been spending time with my family and back home with my mom. So shooting videos, I didn't get around to doing it with my travel schedule, but we're back and we're going to start putting out some content again. So for all of you that have been hanging around, I appreciate you guys being there for me, and I appreciate everyone that's reached out. But I want to get back into helping you understand the mortgage and real estate world. So today's video, we're going to be talking about some tactics for buying a home in a strong seller's market in 2023. Now, we're starting to see some markets across the country where you're having multiple offer situations, meaning you like a house, you want to make an offer, but yet there are multiple offers, sometimes 2, sometimes 10. There was even one house that we came across in Florida for one of our clients that had 60 offers on one house within a week's time frame. So we're starting to see these situations happen more and more. And I want to cover some of the tactics that can help you as a buyer be successful in this market, because if we go back to what happened during the COVID years, it got very stressful for so many folks. You were interested in buying a home, you wanted to capitalize on the low interest rates, but because of the frenzy that was created because of the inventory and interest rates, it made it super stressful for so many of you, and a lot of you quit and did not buy a house. So here's 6 things that you can take into account going into this market if this is what you're seeing in your part of the neighborhood. And if you're new to my channel, thanks so much for checking out this video. You can hit the description below. There's links to more information on how to get your mortgage right, if you need a second opinion on your purchase or refinance, or if you simply want my team to help you with a pre-approval, we've got you covered. And don't forget to like this channel and this video if you find it helpful. So the first tactic of what you want to do going into a strong seller's market is make sure that you are working with a good loan officer. That may seem obvious, but how do you find a good loan officer? Now, my way and what I think is good could be different from what you might think is good, but I think the most important thing that you have to look for is a loan officer that is working full-time. Now, you might say, Sean, well, of course they're working full-time. That's not the case. And I can tell you that because I recruit for my team across the entire country. I've talked to countless loan officers lately that are now picking up part-time jobs while they do mortgages during the day, or they have a work from home job and they're trying to juggle 2 things at once. I think the most important thing that you have to look for is somebody who's doing this full time and has the knowledge and expertise to help you understand and be successful in the market. Because if they're not keeping up with market trends, if they're not doing deals on a regular basis, they won't have a reputation in the marketplace, which is going to make it very difficult for you to get an offer accepted. The second thing that you really want to look for is making sure that your real estate agent is up to date on the market. Same thing here. Is your real estate agent full-time, or did they go back to work because the market has taken such a shift? You have to remember, from 2020 up until about June of last year, it was raining deals in real estate. Whether you were a realtor or a loan officer, you literally had people reaching out to you because they wanted to buy or sell a property. It was so easy to be in the industry. But once interest rates changed last year, they went from 3 to 6%. Everyone freaked out. Everyone who's never been in the market that has seen this type of downturn, they don't know what to do. And they're honestly going back to work. So if you're making the biggest purchase of your life, whether you're a first-time home buyer or this is an investment property for you or something that you're looking to build your real estate portfolio, in my opinion, I want to work with people that are doing this full time, that know what they're doing. If they don't know what they're doing, how can your realtor negotiate for you? How can your loan officer know what's the best programs that's available today? Remember, I always equate the value that a loan officer can bring to the table with the strategy and the expertise. If all they're selling you is, hey, I can give you a really low interest rate, is that really strategy? Or the realtor that's going to just write an offer and hopefully the seller accepts the offer with no strategy behind it? Is that going to work? It may work in a down market, but when markets get competitive, like we're starting to see, you need somebody that's going to go and fight for you. And when you look at some markets, like let's say here in Las Vegas, there's 20,000 real estate agents out there. What makes the one realtor different from the 19,000 other that are out there? You want someone who's going to bring something different that can help you get your deal done. And I can tell you this, not all loan officers are made equal, and the same thing goes with real estate agents. So you really want to make sure that you have someone who's full-time and has experience to help you navigate this market. Now, what I would always recommend first is getting pre-approved. Getting pre-approved is going to help you set the stage for the entire transaction. And every good loan officer works with really good realtors. They just go hand in hand. So if you don't have a realtor up front, that's not a big deal. Ask your loan officer to refer you to one of their top partners, and they will get you connected to help you get into your house. Now, tactic number 3 goes back to what I just said, getting pre-approved. This is the most important thing that you have to do throughout the process. I still hear people every day that don't want to get their credit pulled, or they're just not ready to provide documentation, but you want to make sure that you have this ready to go. If you don't want your credit pulled or provide your lender with pay stubs or tax returns, you're not a serious buyer. Let's face it. You're trying to poke around, get information, and hopefully people will work for you to give you what you want. But I can tell you that any busy real estate agent who's closing deals or loan officer, they won't waste their time on that, because there's tons of other clients that are ready, willing, and able to provide the documentation. So don't fight with your lender. Don't fight with your real estate agent on providing anything they ask for, because our job is to make sure we can help you accomplish your goal. And if your goal is to buy a house, then let's make sure that we're all on the same page to make that happen. Now, one thing that we're doing with my team across the country is we're submitting all of our files for a TBD approval, so a to be determined approval. And essentially what we're doing is we will take a full package from our clients up front, and we are providing that to our underwriters. We're getting them to actually underwrite the file. So the only thing that we're missing is the property. So what this will do is this will speed up the entire closing process once you get your offer accepted. For example, if you came to us today for a pre-approval, we get all your documents, we'd submit it to our underwriting team, and probably within 24 to 48 hours, we'd get a response back. Now at that point, instead of you shopping around and asking for a 30-day close on your contract, we could probably close in 2 to 3 weeks. Now, again, if my offer is going up against 10 other offers, who do you think the seller might lean towards? Someone who can close in 2 weeks, or someone who can close in 4 weeks or 5 weeks? This is where, again, the strategy and being proactive in a market that's very competitive is going to help you as a home buyer win. Not many banks will want to do a TBD approval. Not many loan officers may want to do that. And that could just be a capacity issue where they just don't have the team members or the bandwidth to be able to help you do that up front. So if you are shopping around for a lender, instead of asking what most buyers always ask is, what's your interest rate? Ask them what their strategy is. Hey, I'm starting to see there's more competition in the market. How can you help me get my offer accepted? If they don't have an answer for that, then I think that tells you what kind of loan officer they are. And I would ask the same thing with the real estate agent. Hey, I'm noticing that the market is getting more competitive out there. What are you doing to help your clients get their offers accepted? When was the last time you closed a deal? Ask them to give you these examples, because that's going to be the stuff that hopefully they can do for you to help you get into the game. Tactic number 4, and this is something that is mandatory for every single person on my team. Whenever we have a pre-approved client that makes an offer on a house, we ask our real estate partners to copy us on the initial offer that goes out to the listing agent, because what we do is we call that listing agent and we let them know that we have an approval on our hands. It's gone through underwriting. It's not just something that someone glanced over, or we have an online approval that we've manipulated numbers to give us the approval that we want. It has been seen by an underwriter, and we are ready to roll. Our client provided us all their income and asset documentation. We've verified everything. These are the types of things that sellers want to know, because if they take their house off the market, they want to know that house is going to close. They don't want the 11th hour rush of, oops, I didn't ask for a pay stub, or I didn't know my client worked overtime, or I didn't know they wrote off all that income on their tax returns. But these are the mistakes that rookies make in the industry, where they don't look at things properly, and it can be on both sides of the transaction. This is why good realtor, good loan officer is so important when the market starts to shift, because these little mistakes that happen every single day, it may not seem like a big deal to you right now, or maybe you might think it's not going to happen to me. But when you have your earnest money deposit up for risk, where I've seen clients lose $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 because they went to another lender and that lender promised them the world and never delivered, it is really, really disheartening to see people lose that kind of money and get discouraged and not buy a house, when all the lender had to do was take a couple more precautions up front to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. So make sure that you look for these things. So again, I'm going to recap our tactics so far. Number 1, you want a good loan officer. Number 2, you want a good real estate agent. Number 3, you want to get pre-approved. And if your lender can do it, have them do a TBD approval. Number 4, you want to make sure that your loan officer is calling the listing agent up front and making sure that they are validating your offer, making sure that they're helping sell the deal to the listing agent. And number 5, ask for shorter contingency dates and closing dates. So what does this mean? So when your agent is writing up your offer, there's certain parts in the contract that are very, very important to the listing side. And those items are typically your due diligence period, which is the time that you have as a buyer up front to inspect the home. You can order roof inspections, sewer inspections, anything that you want to make sure that the house is tip-top shape, that you're not buying the seller's problem. Also, your loan contingency, which is essentially the amount of time your loan officer has to have your loan approved by. And then you also have an appraisal contingency, which is the time that you need the appraisal back to determine whether or not the house appraises for the value that you are looking for to get the deal done. And also your close of escrow date. This is the date that the loan needs to close by in order to meet the contract date and for you to not lose your earnest money. So the most important things on the lending side is we're looking at the contingency date for loan, the contingency date for the appraisal, and your close of escrow date. So if we do a TBD approval, we can shorten all 3 of those up, making our offer seem a lot stronger. Now, traditionally, appraisals could take up to 2 weeks. But again, if we're trying to get ahead of the game, we want to shorten that time frame up, and also with your loan approval as well. Now, when the market really picks up, like we saw during 2020 and 21, people start to waive all of these contingency dates where they said, you know what, we're going to waive the appraisal, we're going to waive the loan, we're going to waive every contingency possible on the contract. And that basically left you as the buyer up in the air. If anything went sideways, that you could normally fall back on the contingency date to protect your earnest money and maybe back out of the deal, you waived all of that stuff. You're at risk. You have to understand that this is your money that is up for risk. So if the market gets that competitive again, make sure you really understand what you're waiving and signing when you sign these contracts, because I've seen this again and again over the years. So many buyers are completely unaware of what they sign. They don't know the closing dates. They don't know what the earnest money means. They're literally just blindly signing a contract. You have to remember, this is a contract, a contractual obligation to purchase real estate. You can't just say, oh, I didn't know, or my agent didn't tell me. Make sure to ask questions. And tactic number 6, you as the buyer, you have to be ready to move quickly. This is not the time that if a lender asks you for a pay stub, you take a week to respond to them. This is not the time that if you're traveling on vacation that you don't have your documents with you. You have to make sure you're prepared to move quickly, because if we're shortening up the time frames and your lender is bending over backwards to get a deal done, or even your real estate agent, we all have to work together as a team between the 3 of us to get deals done. If your lender's not being responsive, they're on vacation, they're not answering their phone, and you're not responding to your real estate agent in time, these are all little things that can cost a deal, or the seller can back out, and if you're not performing under the contract. So again, if you're traveling, if you have anything coming up, communicate that with your lender. Most lenders today have online portals that you can upload documents to. So it's not like you physically have to be there, and you don't also have to physically be in the state where you're purchasing in order to sign. They have mobile notaries that can come to you anywhere in the world that can sign your loan documents and get them back to the lender. So again, this is just all about communication and being on the same team. Remember, your realtor, your loan officer, we have your best interests in mind. If they don't, they're just out for a commission. And that's the last thing you'd want to deal with, because this is your biggest transaction that you're probably making in your life. Make sure you hire the right team. And if you don't know where to start, you can always reach out to myself and my team, and I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. Again, the description below has links to more information, and you can also reach out to me directly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.